Welcome back, trio. Today we're going to go over even and odd functions. Here's a function and we're going to find out if it's even, odd, or neither. So first thing we need to do is talk about the formula for even function and the formula for an odd function. An even function is usually symmetrical about the y-axis, and an odd function is usually symmetrical about the origin. So let me write a rule. F of x is an even function if and only if f of negative x is equal to f of x. And f of x is an odd function if and only if f of negative x is equal to negative f of x. So let's plug in negative x. If we plug it in and we get the original function, then it's even. If we plug in negative x into our function and we get out an opposite function of the original, then it is odd. Again, this is if and only if and only if. Now that we have our formulas up, we can apply it to the problem. So for this problem, we want to input negative x. So f of negative x equals we input negative x, and when we do that, we get f of negative x equals negative to an even power becomes positive, so this is 3x to the 4th. Negative to an even power becomes positive, so this is x squared plus 1, which is identical to the original problem. Therefore, we're saying f of negative x equals f of x, which means this is an even function. So this example is an even function. I'll be right back with another example. Welcome back, trio. Here we are with another example. Again, we're still going over even and odd functions. We found out that first example was even. Now we're going to check this example. F of x equals x cubed plus x. The key to find out if it's even or odd is to plug in negative x. So let's do that. Again, we're going to substitute x with negative x. So if I plug in negative x, for our input, let's find out what we get. Negative to an odd power is negative. Negative times positive is negative. So we get f of negative x equal to negative x cubed minus x. We can factor out a negative here and say f of negative x equals negative times x cubed plus x. If we pull out the negative. Now notice x cubed plus x was our original problem. So we can say f of negative x equals negative f of x, because this is the original. Therefore, plugging in negative x gives us the opposite of the original, which means this is an odd function. So this is an odd function. I'll be back with another example. Welcome back, trio. Here we are with another example. This time we have f of x equals square root of x. We want to determine whether it's an even or odd function or neither. So we have to plug in negative x and see what we get out. So f of negative x equals square root negative x. Now, this negative, we can't just factor it out of the square root. The square root is a special function, so we can't factor the negative out. We're looking at this is not the same as the original. We can't factor the negative out, so it doesn't give us the opposite of the original. Therefore, this function is neither even nor odd. And I'll be back with one more example. Thank you. Welcome back, trio. We got another example here. F of x equals cosine x. Now this is a trig function, and we need to know what happens if we plug in negative x to find out if it's an even or odd function. So f of equals cosine of, and we're plugging in negative x. So for the cosine function in trig, the negative goes away. I like to say the cosine eats the negative. So if the cosine eats the negative, we just get f of negative x equals cosine x, which is the original problem. And if we put in a negative and we get the original function out, that means it's an even function. So this is an even function. Let's compare that to another trig function. F of x equals sine x. Again, to find out if it's even or odd, we need to plug in negative x. So f of equals sine of, and we're plugging in negative x. We get out, let's find out. F of negative x equals, with the sign, the negative gets factored out. So it comes in the front, negative sine x. And that's the same as f of negative x equaling negative f of x, which we called sine x to begin with. So if we plug in a negative and we get out the opposite of the original function, this is an odd function. Thank you. Go trio.